Feels like winter has been dragging on forever, and you probably are dreaming of spring. Let me help you usher in the new season with the lovely day wall hanging. This is a delightful project that brings a touch of handmade charm to your home decor. This tutorial guides you through creating a beautiful flag adorned with crocheted flowers and leaves, allowing for endless customization to suit your personal style. To create this pattern, you are going to need approximately 60 yards of worsted weight yarn and 30 yards of embroidery thread. You'll need a K or 6.5 millimeter hook for the flag and an E or 3.5 millimeter hook for the flowers, a wooden dowel or stick at least 6 inches long, some sort of twine or yarn to create your hanger, a hot glue gun to help secure your flag to your stick, scissors, tapestry needle, and measuring tape. For this pattern, the first thing we will do is create the flag in the worsted weight yarn, and then we will create flowers separately, and they will be sewn on to the fabric of the flag. So to start, we will need to get gauge. We will need to get that with our worsted weight yarn and our K or 6.5 millimeter hook. You're going to want to create a gauge swatch of half double crochet. You should have 11 half double crochet stitches in 4 inches, and you should have 11 half double crochet rows in 4 inches. If you have fewer stitches or rows, try going down a hook size. If you have more stitches or rows, try going up a hook size until you get as close to that gauge as you can. Now, once you have the hook size that you need, we can begin working on our flag. So again, with the hook you met gauge with and your worsted weight yarn, to start our pattern, we are going to begin with chaining. So first we will need a slip stitch. I make my slip stitches by taking the tail of my yarn, throwing it over the working yarn, looping it around so that there's then this loop. I grab my tail and I pull it through. Then I can put my hook in and I can tighten that yarn around it. Okay, so to start, we are going to chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is going to be row 1, so half double crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then place a half double crochet in each chain across. And that should give you a total of 10 half double crochet stitches for row 1. For row 2, we will chain 1 and we'll turn our work, and we are going to half double crochet each stitch across. And that will give you, again, a total of 10 stitches, 10 half double crochet stitches, the end of row 2. All right, and next we will do rows 3 through 8. Rows 3 through 8 are all going to be a repeat of row 2. So it'll be a chain 1, turn your work, and place a half double crochet in each stitch across for a total of 10 half double crochet stitches. So again, rows 3 through 8, we're just going to do that same thing. All right, and there's our last stitch, and I now have 8 rows of those half double crochet. And this is actually the top, we're working top down of our flag. So this is our main area. This is this area right here. And next we are going to begin our decreases to make the point of our flag. All right, and now we will move on to row 9. So for row 9, we are going to chain 2, turn our work, and we're going to half double crochet 2 together over the first 2 stitches. So to do that, you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch and draw up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch and draw up a loop. You should have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 5 loops on your hook, and that is a half double crochet 2 together, or a decrease. So the next we will half double crochet in the next 6, and I really like to start these decrease rows with a chain 2 so that that chain 2 has kind of room to lean into that decrease, and I just find that it makes my fabric curl more. If it's too much and it's giving you a giant gap, you can always go to a chain 1, but that's how I like to do them. All right, and then once we are at the end, we have 2 more stitches left. We'll do another half double crochet 2 together. So one more time, I'll show you: yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, insert hook into the next stitch, drop a loop. So 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops to complete that half double crochet 2 together. And you should now have 8 stitches total for row 9. All right, and now so row 10, we'll chain 2, turn, half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet 4, half double crochet in the next 4, and then another half double crochet 2 together, and this time you should have a total of 6 stitches. Now row 11, chain 2, turn, half double crochet 2 together, half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then in the last 2, half double crochet 2 together, and that will bring our total to 4. All right, and now for row 12. Row 12, we'll chain 2, turn our work, and we are just going to work a half double crochet 2 together over those first 2, and then another half double crochet 2 together over those last 2, and that will bring our total to 2 stitches. All right, and then row 13, chain 2, turn, and then just half double crochet 2 together over those 2 stitches, and you will have a total of 1 stitch. And then row 14 is really easy. We're just going to chain 1, we're going to turn, and we're going to slip stitch in our 1 stitch from the row below. All right, and now you can see that we've brought that flag shape to a point. And next, what we are going to do is we're going to move on to create an edge around this shape, and that's going to give us a little more width, and it's going to give us this nice clean finish around the edge of our flag. We are going to chain 1. We're not going to turn now, and we are going to rotate our piece, and we are going to work into the sides of the rows, going up towards this what would be the right hand corner when it's facing you. So we want to place approximately 18 stitches. Now it's not too important that it's exactly 18. It's mostly just that you want them to be even, and you don't want it to be so few that it's curling, and you don't want it to be so many that it's flaring. So 18 was the amount that I found that worked for my flags. So you'll just begin to place half double crochets and you'll see that I'm just kind of trying to place them as if they were in a regular row. So you don't want them bunching too much, you want them to be nice and flat. So just keep going until you get to this corner, and then I will show you what to do next. All right, and when you've got those stitches up your side and you are at that corner, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work, and then we're going to work across that beginning chain, and we just want to place a single crochet in each of the beginning chains across. So that should be 10 single crochet across. All right, and then when you get there, you'll want to chain 2, and we'll rotate again, and we're going to work back down the other side, and we want to do 18 stitches down this way too. If you happen to change the amount of stitches over here because it worked better for you, yours didn't fit like mine, just match it. It's as easy as that. So if you did 20 over here instead of 18, do 20 over here. I like to use this row to go ahead and crochet over this end right here, so that it takes care of that end, and I have one less end to weave in when I'm at the end of this. All right, and when you come to the end of that, placing those 18, you should be pretty much right across from that first one that you did. So here we will just chain 1, and you will just join into the first half double crochet you made in that round, and that's the end of that first edge row. Now we're going to finish off with one more round around the entire flag. So we will chain 1, and you should be kind of slightly over. You shouldn't be like at the point, you'll be slightly over. So we'll chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet in the 3rd loop. We are on the right side of our fabric. The 3rd loop is going to be located on the wrong side. So we'll point it out to you. You have the V here, front loop, back loop. Your 3rd loop is going to be this one right underneath on the wrong side of your fabric, right underneath that back loop. So we will single crochet into that. So again, there's our V. You have a 3rd loop right on the other side, right underneath that V. So we'll pick that up, and we will complete a single crochet. Okay, again, we've got the V and then the 3rd loop right here. So we will single crochet in there, and you will see that the V should be sitting right, pushed out forward on the front of your fabric. You'll be able to see it really well. Here, I'll show you on the finished because it's really easy to see here. So these are your single crochets, and these are your half double crochets from the round before it. So you want to have a full V pushed forward. All right, so we're going to single crochet in each of the 3rd loops over until you get to your chain 2. So single crochet 18. All right, and once you get to the corner, you will single crochet 2 into that chain 2 you made, and then we'll rotate and work across the top of the flag and place a slip stitch into each of the 10 single crochet across the top. And it's good to keep these loose so that your fabric doesn't end up pulling too much. So just make sure you keep those slip stitches nice and loose. These are going to be useful for when we mount this onto our flag. All right, and now you should be at the other chain 2 that we made on the opposite side. So place 2 single crochet in that chain 2 as well. And then once you've done that, we are going to go back to 3rd loop only. So single crochet 3rd loop only in the next 18 down to the point of your flag. All right, and we should be back down at that point. And so you'll want to chain 1 and then join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch to finish that 2nd edging round off. And there is the completed flag of our wall hanging. Now for the flowers on the wall hanging, I suggest using either embroidery thread or you can use crochet thread. Now they will have a slightly different look, and just a fair warning, if you're using like these pre-lengthened embroidery threads, you slightly run the risk of running out when you're making the flowers. But I made all of these flowers with one of these, so just keep that in mind. You might want to go down a hook size or something if you're finding that your flowers using too much of that. But so this one I made with embroidery thread, and they're just a slightly like fluffier flower and leaf. And then this one I made with number 10 crochet thread. So I feel like it gives it a slightly lacier, lighter look when you do that. So I just wanted to show the difference in those two. Hopefully that's coming across in the camera. But they both work well. I think they both make a beautiful flag, make beautiful flowers, but you just might want to keep that in mind when you're kind of trying to decide on the look yours is going to have. So I will be using embroidery thread to show you how to make these. It's a little bit thicker than the crochet thread, so I thought I'm hoping you can see it easier. I'm going to do my best to show you, but it is very small details, so we'll see how this goes. But I'll be using the embroidery thread to show you how to make the flowers, and then I will share with you how to arrange them, and also share with you how I go through the stitches so that the back of my wall hanging is actually not just a bunch of strings and things like that. So it's very clean looking, very professional looking. For this video, I'm going to show you how to create this floral arrangement. I like to use this one because it uses all of the pieces from my from the pattern. So we have a ruffle flower, which is this one right here. We have a tiny daisy, which is this little white one right here. We have the layered flower, which is this one here. And then we have the small rose, which are these brown ones right here. And then we also have two different leaf sizes. I have a larger leaf, which is this lighter green leaf, and then this darker green is the small leaf. So this arrangement uses all of the flower designs from the pattern, and then of course you can rearrange these in all sorts of different ways. So the first flower I would like to show you how to make is the ruffle flower. This is probably the most complicated out of all of the flowers, but it's pretty quick and easy. So you want to get your e-hook and your embroidery thread, and to start this we will be working in a magic circle. So I create my magic circles by draping my tail down over my hand. I bring my working yarn over and cross it around, and then reach through and grab that working yarn with my hook and bring it around the front of it. We are going to chain 2, and then we are going to work 6 half double crochet into that magic circle. Make sure that you are working over the working yarn and the tail when you do this, when you work into that. So there's 1 half double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and we're going to pull it tight, but we are not going to join after we pull it tight. So just pull it tight, and we are going to work in continuous rounds for this. So there's round 1 with 6 half double crochet. All right, and now round 2. Round 2, we're going to work 2 half double crochet in each stitch around. So 2. And at the end of round 2, you should have 12 half double crochet. All right, and for round 3, we are going to work a repeat of half double crochet 1 stitch, 2 half double crochet in the next. So we'll place a single half double crochet in that first stitch, and then 2 in the next, and we're going to make that repeat 6 total times. All right, and at the end of that third round, you should have 18 stitches. And so now we are going to join. You just want to join to that very next stitch, which should be the first stitch from the round. And you're just going to join with a slip stitch to that. All right, and now we will do round 4, which is going to be a little different. And this is where the flower gets a little difficult, but once you kind of figure it out, it's not too bad. So we are actually going to chain 2 and we're going to turn, and you should be able to see the third loops now facing you. So you have the top of your stitch with the V, and then your third loop is right here. And we are going to be using that to work into. So we are going to place 3 double crochet in each of the third loop around. So we'll go into that third loop and place 3 double crochet. And this is going to start to create the ruffle that will give us that like rose appearance. So we're basically going to work in a spiral because we have those continuous rounds. We're going to spiral all the way around into those third loops, all the way to the center. You can see now that I've kind of worked that first outer ring. Hopefully you can see. You'll see that you pretty much only have those third loops to work in. So you'll see it spiraling around till that last one. So just you'll continue to follow that spiral of loops around, placing 3 double crochet in each one. And one of the things that I do that kind of helps me is I kind of fold it and hold it down like that. So then those loops are right there sticking up for me to work into. And that helps a lot to, so you're not having to kind of work against those like this. You can kind of fold them down and put those loops on top so that they're easier to see and easier to work into in a more natural way, kind of like a regular stitch. All right, and once you get to the end of that spiral, you're going to fasten off. And then I like to put my hook in through the center, and put your hook in through the center from the bottom up, and go ahead and grab that end and just pull it through the very center, and that just kind of helps pull that ruffle down into the center like it should be. And at the end you should have this cute little ruffle, and I leave those ends because we use them to sew the flower onto the flag. All right, so that's our ruffle flower. Now let's make another flower. So the next one we're going to create is the tiny daisy. We only need 1 for this. So this is a pretty simple flower. It's 1 round, but it is very small. So to create the tiny daisy, we are going to be working into a magic circle. So I'll show again my magic circle. I put my tail down on my palm. I wrap my working yarn over and cross it over the tail. Then I go under the tail and grab the working yarn and bring it around. And then I can start working with it. Now for the daisy, what we are going to do is we are going to work a chain 3 slip stitch into our magic circle 5 times. So we'll chain 3, and then we'll slip stitch. Make sure you slip stitch around both the working yarn and the tail so that you can pull that tight. So that was once. So then we'll do it again, chain 3, slip stitch, that's 2, chain 3, slip stitch, 3, chain 3, slip stitch, that's 4 times, and our last time chain 3 and slip stitch. And now each one of those chain 3s is going to be our petal of our tiny daisy. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals, and then you will just go ahead and grab that tail from your magic circle and pull that tight. And then I like to take that end I just fastened off and put it through the middle of the magic circle. So it pulls that petal in, and then you've got your tiny daisy. And you can see the 5 little petals. Very simple, very cute. And now we will create our third style of flower. And this is going to be the layered flower. We're going to make just one of these again. And it is called the layered flower because we will make 2 layers. So we will start with our top layer. And this is another magic circle. So again, tail down on the palm, bring it around your fingers and make your X. Go under and grab that guy, bring it around. And then we will start off by chaining 2. So we'll chain 1 and 2. And then we're going to work 12 half double crochet. And remember to work around that, both the working yarn and the tail, so you can pull the magic circle tight. All right, and once you have 12 half double crochets, go ahead and grab your tail and pull that tightly so that that first round is closed up. And that should be round 1, and it should have 12 stitches. And so now just join to the first stitch with a slip stitch to finish that off. And now that's round 1, and it should have 12 stitches. For round 2, we'll chain 2, and we are going to place a treble crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet all in the first stitch. So treble crochet in that first stitch, double crochet, and half double crochet in that first stitch. And then we will single crochet in the next. So you should have this little rounded section here. All right, so now we're going to begin a repeat. We are going to double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet, half double crochet in one, single crochet in the next, and we're going to make that repeat 5 times. So we will place a double crochet, then a treble crochet, then a double crochet, and then a half double crochet, all in the same stitch. And then the next one, we will place a single crochet, and that's once through that repeat. And you can see that we are creating our petals with that. All right, so now 4 more times. Go through it one more time with you, and then I will meet you at the end. So one more time, the next stitch we will place a double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet, and then a half double crochet, all in the same stitch. And the next one, next stitch, we will place a single crochet. And you can see our petals beginning to form. So let's continue that repeat for 3 more times. All right, and now we've worked that repeat 5 times. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. And then to finish this off, we're going to join to the first stitch. All right, and then we can fasten off on this guy. And then for this top layer, we are going to create a small center, pull that through to the back. So we have our top layer, and we're just going to create the center. So you'll want to grab a contrasting color to do that. So I'm just going to use this darker purple. I'm going to cut a length of it. Doesn't need to be a whole lot. And I'm just going to use this first round. So our petals were our second round. So just this first round, I'm going to stay within. And I'm going to pull this yarn through, or this thread through. And then I'm just going to begin to create lines across the middle. So I'll go across to the other side, pull it through, and then I will come up next to it, just slightly over a little bit, and then go through across again. And this is just going to slowly create a little contrasting color middle and give some more texture and interest to your flower. So keep doing that until you've filled the middle up. All right, and there we go. These two colors, you probably can't see the contrast as well as you can on like the white with the brown center, but yeah, you just want to crisscross it and create this textured centerpiece. All right, and so that's the top of our layered bow. So now we are going to make the bottom piece of our layered bow. So grab that same color you used for the petals in the top layer. I guess you could do this in a different color if you really wanted to, but, and then again, we're starting with 12 half double crochet in a magic circle. So create your magic circle, chain 2, and then half double crochet 12. And once you have your 12, go ahead and pull that closed and then join to your first stitch with a slip stitch. And that's the end of round 1, and you should have 12 half double crochet. All right, and for round 2, we are going to chain 1, and we are going to do a repeat of half double crochet and then 2 half double crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to do that repeat 6 times. So half double crochet and then 2 half double crochet to increase in the next stitch, and you want to do that for a total of 6 times. And after you've done that repeat 6 times, you should have 18 stitches, and then you can go ahead and join to the first stitch with a slip stitch to finish off that round. And now for round 3, we're going to create petals on our second layer, just like we did with the first. So we're going to chain 2, and then we are going to treble crochet, and that chain 2 counts as a double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet, half double crochet all in that first stitch, and then single crochet the next. And now we will start our repeat of placing a double crochet, treble crochet, double crochet, half double crochet all in one stitch, single crochet the next, and we will repeat that 8 times around. All right, and then when you get to the end, go ahead and join, and then you can fasten off. And see how I don't have a whole lot left. That's what I was talking about. You can get pretty much one flower, one of the big flowers. You can get a lot of the little guys out of it. Okay, and then to finish this flower off, we will actually take the top layer, and you'll want to sew it on to the center of the bottom layer, and it will look like that once it's all sewn together. All right, and our last flower is the small rose. So for the small rose, this one is worked as a long piece, and then we actually roll it up to put it together so that it forms a rose. So we will start with a chain. So I will create a slip knot. I create my slip knots by taking my tail, placing it over my working yarn, and then behind, and then this loop to the side, I will put my tail through and pull. And now I have a slip knot. All right, so to begin the small rose, we will chain 26. All right, and once we have 26, we can start our first row. Well, really our only row. So we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook to start with, and then we are going to begin a repeat of skip 2, 5 double crochet in 1 stitch, skip 2, single crochet. So we'll skip 2 and we will place 5 double crochet in the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all in that 1 stitch. And then we will skip 2 and single crochet in the next. All right, so that's the repeat. Okay, and once you've repeated that 4 times, you should have basically 4 petals on your chain. And then to create the rows, we'll actually fasten off, and you'll want to get a tapestry needle out. And then what we're going to do to create this is we are actually going to start from this end and just get that end and begin to roll it together. On top of each other, and so it makes this little cinnamon roll basically. So it's all rolled together, and then you can take your end once it's all together, take your needle and put it through all the layers like that, and pull it in so that it holds them together. And then I just like to go through a couple more times in a couple more places, trying to go through all those layers so it holds that roll together. And then you have your little, and now you have your little rows. And in order to create the design we're working on, you're going to need 3 of those. So you'll want to go back and make 2 more just like that, so that you'll have 3 little roses. All right, and the next thing we're going to make for our flag is going to be the small leaf. This is going to start with a chain, so we will begin with a slip knot. And how I make my slip knots: take my tail over my working yarn, behind my working yarn, and then take the loop that creates and put the tail through and pull it tightly so that we have a slip knot. And the small leaf is very simple. We're going to chain 5, chain 5. We're going to put 2 double crochet in the second chain from the hook, 2 double crochet. We will half double crochet the next, half double crochet, single crochet in the next, and then slip stitch the last chain, and that is it. That is how you make the leaf. So you'll want to cut your yarn and pull it through, and there is your small leaf. And for this arrangement, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. So you'll want to make 4 more for 5 total, and then we can move on to the larger leaf. All right, and now we will do the larger leaf. So the larger leaf also begins with a chain. So we will create our slip knot by putting the tail over, behind, and then pulling through the loop. Pull that tight. For this one, we are going to chain 7. Then we will put 2 treble crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. And then double crochet into the next. Half double crochet the next. Single crochet next. And then place a slip stitch into the last stitch. And then what we are going to do is we are actually going to work down the other side of our chain. So you'll chain 1 and you'll turn it over. So these are the stitches we just worked, and we're going to work along this side of the chain. So we will slip stitch into the first one, single crochet the next, half double crochet the next, double crochet the next, and then 2 treble crochet in the last stitch. So just a reverse of what we did across on the other side so that they line up. And then when you're done with those 2 treble crochet, we're going to join to the first treble crochet with a slip stitch. And that is the larger leaf. So we can go ahead and fasten off on that one. And we need 2 of these for the flower arrangement. So just make 1 more, and then we can move on to sewing them all onto our flag. For this next part, you're going to want your flag, you're going to want a tapestry needle, and you're going to want all of your pieces. Now, how I like to do this is I like to put all of my pieces where I would like to have them. I typically do this by kind of placing my flowers first. So I know for this arrangement, I'm going to have one of my large flowers kind of here, and then I'll balance that with a larger flower right there. I know that I want to have my roses around, so I'll have one here and one here. So what I'll do when I come up with these arrangements, I already know how I want to arrange this one, but if I were to be doing this on my own, I would definitely do it like this. I would take all of my flowers and I would start to place them where I think I might want them and move them around until I get the look that I want. All right. And then I would start doing the leaves off of the flowers to figure out where I want those. And then I would start to place the leaves around where I think I would want them and just get an idea of how I want this all to lay out. So we're going to put 2 small leaves at the top of this arrangement. Like that. We're going to put probably a large leaf down here at the bottom, and I would like to have that paired with a smaller leaf like that. Probably a smaller leaf to the side over here. And then my last 2 leaves, I will place one over here and then a smaller one with it again. Basically like that. So now I have the general layout. And this looks very chaotic, and honestly it is a little chaotic for a minute while you figure everything out. But I like to pick a place I think it would be good to start, And I think I'll start with these 2 leaves up here, and I've got an idea of where everything's going to go. So I am going to kind of move this stuff. I'm going to try and keep these 2 leaves where I want them. And move this other stuff, and I'll kind of lay it all back out again. I know it seems kind of like a lot of work, but to get them in the right spot. You could also pin them where you want them and see if that helps. But I will start with this first leaf. And I know I'm going to want it to be there, and I know I'll want the other one like right next to it. So I'll just remember that. So we will start with sewing this leaf down. So I'll get it on my needle. All right, and then with the leaves, I want to sew them flat onto the fabric. So how I do this is I hold it flat, and I'll go through, and then I'll go into a stitch like this. So I'm going in through the stitch. So you'll see I'm not going out the back at all. I'm going into the stitch and then through the fabric of the leaf again. And this is how I'm going to sew it down without it having it show up on the other side. So again, I will go down through a spot on the leaf, maybe over here, and then through a stitch. And sometimes it can help to come out of the stitch before you go back through the leaf. And then you can also do this thing, sometimes that helps get a flat spot. So see, I've come through the stitch, and then I get through a couple spots on the leaf like this. And then I can even go back through that stitch again. To kind of help anchor it down, to tie it down. So see, and then it's becoming flat with the fabric. The leaf is flat against the fabric, and you're not seeing it on that other side. So see, I've got that one sewn down, nice and flat, and you don't see it, except for maybe if it's peeking through. You don't see those stitches on the other side. And then I will just weave these ends in through here, or sometimes through the outside. Sometimes it's good to weave one end in and just have one to work with for sewing also, if that's too much. So now we'll do the other one right next to it. So now I'm going to kind of place everything again, so I can look at the next spot to sew on. I think I'll do this one that's over here. So I'm going to have it like this, and like this. And I wanted to have one coming out like here. So we'll do that. All right, so we want that guy right there. All right, and there we go. And that is just pretty much how we're going to continue until we have all the leaves on, and then we will put the flowers on. And now I've got all of my leaves on my flag, and they're all sewn down flush, and I've gone through those stitches, so there's nothing on the back. And now that I've got those down, I can do my flowers. And now with the flowers, I do not sew the flowers down as heavily as I do the leaves. I want the leaves to stay flush with the fabric so that they can be placed under the flowers. But the flowers, and I've taken all of my flowers and I've woven in all but one of the strings so that I could sew them. With the flowers, I mainly sew the middle, around the middle to the fabric, so that they remain as 3D as possible. So now what I'll do is just like I did with the leaves, I'll place stuff and I'll pick one to sew down one at a time until I've worked my way through all of them. And I will work through the fabric instead of all the way. I'll work in between the stitches instead of all the way through the fabric, just like I did with the leaves, so that back stays nice. And I mean, if that's too difficult, it's a wall hanging. This is going to be against the wall. So if you're finding you're having a really difficult time with that, I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with sewing through the back so that you could see them on the back. And another little tip is that don't get too married to the placement you originally picked. I was originally going to put this daisy more over here, but now that I've placed these 3 flowers, I can see that there's a space here where you can see the leaves aren't connected to anything. So I'm going to move my daisy down here, and that's just going to cover up that opening so you can't see that those leaves aren't connected to anything, because you want them to look like they're coming off of the flowers. So just kind of pay attention to make sure that those leaves, like this one, I'm going to want one here to make sure that that leaf is completely, the bottom of that leaf is completely covered, because you can see it sticking out a little bit right here. So I'll put that smaller rose there, and then to cover up the side of this leaf, that guy will just go there. So it's pretty much exactly like I had it, but just be ready and pay attention to your leaves and be ready to kind of move your flowers around where you need them to go so it looks the best. All right, and there are all of my flowers sewn down, and you can see that they just stick out 3D out above those leaves. And that's our flower arrangement. So now I'm going to weave in the flowers ends, and we can move on to mounting our flag to the stick and creating our tassel, and we will be done with our lovely day wall hanging. All right, and I've got all my ends woven in, and there is my finished floral arrangement. I am very excited with the way this one looks. It's a very like pastel colors compared to some of my other ones, which are a lot of darker colors. So it was fun to do some of these color combos. And now it's time to mount our flag onto our stick. So to do this is actually relatively easy. It's a little labor intensive, but it's easy. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a pretty long length of your worsted yarn that matches your flag and cut it off of the skein. Then I use my tapestry needle, and essentially what we're going to do is we are just going to wrap this around your dowel or your stick or whatever you're using. So we have that row of single crochet and then that row of slip stitches right there. We're going to go through both of those, so it's a nice thick area that we go through so that it doesn't stretch too much. I like to start in, so you have those 2 single crochet in the chain 2. I like to kind of start in the furthest one, and that's just so that I can kind of pull these out and make it a really nice squared off. And then I'll just hold my stick like that, and I will just essentially start going over the stick. I like to go through each spot, or each stitch, I guess you would call it, each set of stitches, since there's 2 when you get over to the top of it. I like to go through each one twice, and because I really like to fill my stick up if you wanted to have a different look. So I like to really cover the stick and fill it up so that it's all completely covered. Let's see if there's a better color to show that with. Yeah, there we go. So I like to really cover it up, and so there's no stick showing. So you could do it less if you like the look. Maybe you're using like a garden stick, so you want to be able to see some of that stick showing through, because it gives it a different vibe, more rustic vibe. So I will just begin doing that. Like I said, easy but labor intensive. It takes a minute to do this. All right, and now I've gotten to the other side. This is when I'll kind of pause and pull and kind of adjust things so that I am getting even on the stick. Kind of pull these tight and take a look at how much space is left on the end, so that's even. And if I like the way I look, I will then continue what I'm doing and go back the other way and fill in these little gaps so that it's, like I said, I like it completely covered. You could leave it right here if you like the way that it looks or you don't mind the way it looks, but I like to go back through and just completely cover up that stick. And there we go, all filled up. And it just looks very nice and neat and clean. And now I will weave my ends from this in on the back, And then we can move on to creating our tassel, and then we will add a hanger, and we will be done. All right, so now we're going to create the tassel. You're going to want some sort of probably hardcover book. I have my project planner here that I'm going to use. You want to take the yarn that you're going to use, and you want to wrap it around the book. So I will hold it down here, and then I will begin wrapping around like this. All right, and you want to wrap, I would say, I don't know, 35 to 40 times around the book. All right, and once you've done that, you'll want to get a pair of scissors and cut that off. And right here, go ahead and cut a little length of yarn and set that aside. We're going to use that in just 1 second. So now what you'll want to do is just cut one end of the wraps you've done. All right. And then you're going to grab that whole bundle and lay it out. And we're going to take that length we just did, and we're going to place it in the middle of your bundle. And we're just going to tie that tightly. And securely. So you want to do a couple knots so that it doesn't just fall out. All right. And then you should have what looks like that. So then we'll get one more length of yarn, and keep these up. You're going to use these to attach it to your wall hanger, and we're going to put that one underneath, and we are going to put it probably about 1 inch down, and then we're going to tie that one tightly and securely, and this is going to make the little ball of fabric at the top of your tassel. And then I like to take one of these, maybe should have made them, no, they're about the right length. Take one of these, and one of the ends from that you just tied around it, and just kind of wrap it around the middle a couple times and pull it tightly. It doesn't need a whole lot. And then I will take that end and use my needle. Put that on my needle, pull it tightly, and then I'll just kind of put it in through the middle and underneath that I just tied, and pull tightly to kind of secure that in. All right, and there I have a tassel ready to attach and ready to be trimmed too. That's why it's so long, and it's all uneven down there, so you'll want to trim that. So then we will take our flag. And we will put, you've also got like this nice chain area to work with down here. Put it through. I like to tie these in a little knot on the back to secure it, and then use them to kind of shift everything where I need it. So we've got that there. And then if you want to, you can kind of use these to go through and just tie it in a little bit more. And then I will go through and just kind of drop these down into the strings down at the bottom to hide them. So you don't even have to really weave them in. But I'll just kind of take it and go under and then up into the stitches a little bit. And then just back down through the top and into the rest of it. Like that, and then it kind of gets hidden in there. And you have a tassel. All right, and then last but not least, you want to get some sort of string. You could use, you could use ribbon, you could use yarn. I like twine, I like the way it looks. Anything you want for the hanger, and I just take a length of this and cut it. And this is generally where I use hot glue. I'm not going to get it out and use it right now, but I will tie it in a knot over here. I will tie it on each end. Like that, and then generally I will put like a little dot of glue, and then I will wrap just a couple times around and make it a little thicker. This one I was using a little thicker twine on, but like that, and then there's just a little dot of glue back there holding it down. I need to trim this one up. Just holding it in place because those can really easily just pop off if you don't kind of secure them. And as you can see, just even these are pretty much the exact same floral arrangement. This is the one that I show you in the blog post also. And you can see that just even changing the colors up, this one feels much more like rustic and cottagecore. And this one's a little more springtime and bright. So you can really, really play around with the colors and the floral arrangements to make this really fit into any decor style that you have in your home. If you purchase the pattern, I do show you how to make the lilac arrangement. I show you how to make the layered flowers arrangement. I show you how to make this like double rose arrangement, and I show you how to make the moon arrangement. So if you don't feel like you would know what to do with the flowers once you made them, I have some arrangements for you. This one I even show you how, if you just do that top layer of that double layered bow, it changes up that flower a little bit. But also you can always just go onto things like Pinterest and Google and find pictures of floral arrangements and then try to mimic those onto your flag. And that can be a really great way to figure out how to decorate it. And if you're not a floral type of person, I also have the mushroom modification on my blog for free, where I show you how to make these little mushroom appliques instead of flowers. But really, any applique you could find out there from any designer could work really well on these. Thanks for hanging out with me and making a lovely day wall hanging. I love this pattern just because there are so many different ways that you can use these flowers to make a different wall hanging. You can change the colors up, change which flowers you use, change the way you put them on there to make any kind of aesthetic that you like. You can find this pattern again for free on my blog, woodlandstitchcraft.com, or if you're interested, you can get the ad-free PDF version of this pattern, which also includes, by the way, several ways to actually arrange the flowers so you don't have to come up with it on your own. You can find that on Etsy, Ravelry, Love Crafts, and Coffee. If you like this tutorial and you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.